thank you everybody for taking your time today to join Dylan and myself to talk about the importance of long-term influencer brand relationships. We hear a lot about influencer marketing, but we're quite curious just to have a sensing among everyone here. What is the proportion of budget that you invest in influencer marketing? That means how much money do you spend working with influencers for your brand? Is it less than 10, 10 to 30, 31 to 50? What is it? Wow, 44, 46%. Interesting. Actually, most of you would have, more than 50% of us here would have spent at least 10% of your budget on marketing. That's pretty, well, that's not too bad. I'm sure Dylan and I will have a different perspective. The brands we work with spend a lot of money on influencer marketing. In fact, Dylan, how about on your end on brands? Do they spend a lot of money on influencer marketing? Pretty sure they do, right?
This is a very cliche answer, but it very much depends on the size of the brand. Whenever you have mass scale reach, brand size that large enough to reach mass size, then you have to choose some of the other channels. But for smaller brands who needs to crack down the market and find a new consumer, new customers, then they can really benefit from this influencer marketing. So for those brands, they likely to spend roughly up to 50%. But for the majority of the brands, average is around 30%.
Got it. All right. And what is the average time then? For the folks online, what is the average time period that you spend engaging the influencers? Do you plan from campaign to campaign, which is, to be absolutely honest, very common? Do you spend 3 months, 6 months with influencers? Or do you actually engage them for more than 6 months? That means you constantly go back to the same influencers, build a relationship with them. Right. Most of the clients, okay, Dylan, quick question, pop quiz, right? What is the longest time period that you've actually worked with a brand with influencers, the longest?
With single creator, single influencer?
Or maybe a group of influencers?
A group of influencers, 8 years.
Wow.
I'll be sharing that case study, as part of this sharing. But this particular brand has started its, building relationship with influencers for past 8 years through a company like ourselves.
Wow. That is such a contrast to the poll results. 84% of the folks here actually plan from campaign to campaign. And like I said, it's actually not uncommon. And there are probably a lot of challenges that we'll talk about later as to why we don't actually plan more long-term with influencers. But the truth of the matter everybody online, you probably will be deconverted. But what is really exciting, besides influencers changing brand perceptions, which is true, you see more of the brand associated with right KOLs, you see the perception of the brand change. But what is really exciting, one of the most fun things I've actually discovered recently is 57% of consumers say they're more likely to learn something from social media than from university. Not saying that we should replace the universities, but it's true. You see media teaching video content out there across various platforms, just educating us the how-tos, the home hacks and everything. And for me, lots of parenting hacks from there. And 66% in the most recent survey, purchase intent are driven by influencers. So it's no longer it's just a nice pretty face on influencer Instagram. And what's even crazier is 6.7 times more engagements when you work with an influencer long-term, 6 months and above, versus those that you work with them only for one time. Meaning to say, for the 87% of you who work with influencers from campaign to campaign, if you convert that to, say, a 6 months and longer engagement, can you imagine the kind of engagement wins that you have from there? And 3.2 times more conversions from these influencers. The impact is real. And we've been talking to many, many brands across all different sectors to just demonstrate and telling them the efficacy of working influencers big time. And talking about working influencers, one of the stories, a lot of you might be wondering, why Dylan all the way from Korea, and we're not doing a mukbang here, we're not doing a live stream here. But the truth of the matter is a lot of what we see from the US moves to into Korea, into China, and then slowing to Southeast Asia. And here, folks, Dylan has experience. He'll share with you a bit more from the US to South Korea and all the way to Southeast Asia. And one of the stories he shared with me is a bit dated, but some of you might know this brand, Ipsy. And Michelle Fan, who was a YouTube content creator, came out with this fabulous business model about beauty makeup in a subscription basis, subscription boxes. And the annual revenue right now is $1 billion. They got acquired by L'Oreal a few years back. Just incredible. The amount of followers they have and brand partnerships that came up from her as a content creator tells us the impact of what a content creator can do for brands. So with that, I think I'm going to pass the time over to Dylan, who's just going to set the stage to tell us the importance of long-term influencer brand partnerships. Dylan, over to you.
Sure, but just one fun fact about Michelle Fan. The first video she ever posted on YouTube. Do you know when it was? How many years ago? Can you guess?
10 years ago?
It was 16 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So she's a legendary beauty creator. Even when I started my career in US, even then she was not as large. I mean, before that time, most of the brands were talking to magazines and broadcasting companies and PR to reach media. I mean, to audience. And when she started, it was something of people never seen before. And then she built that company roughly around 10 years ago. 6 years after she started posting her first video, right? So, what happened, to tell you the story, how I started my career, I could share, from the next slide. I just want to give the rest of the audience thanks for, coming, that we just passed 100 participants right now. The reason that
This is like a live stream.
It is. Actually, I worked for a live streaming company before, so I used to do this a lot with audience in Asia and across the globe. So the reason I'm here, like Chris just mentioned, I've been, I'm based in South Korea, but I was in KL, Malaysia, just half a year ago. So I just came back. I just returned to Korea after spending 2 years in Malaysia to work with leading MCN company to develop social commerce for the region, because I came to KL in the middle of pandemic. So I actually took a risk, a very large risk, to come all the way to Malaysia because the company had the regional presence covering Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, many other countries in Southeast Asia. The reason I came to Southeast Asia is because I knew this new trend is actually going to arrive in Southeast Asia. I saw the potential. I saw, the excitement, the passionate audience, young audience, grooming out of the region. So that's why I actually, came to. I wanted to learn. I wanted to feel it with my own eyes. I wanted to see. So that's why I came, and later I came back because of personal reason. But I'm still working with many of the companies based in Southeast Asia. But before that, I started my career in FMCG brand, then move on to entertainment media technology. My core passion is commerce. So naturally, I stay in media and my interest in commerce. So my focus is how to use the media to sell products. That's that has been my passion for the last 15 years of my career. I didn't know I could reach this place, but probably what I experienced in the US, I witnessed it happening in South Korea few years later, and I'm very, very certain that it's going to somehow a different way reach Southeast Asia region. It can help a lot of brand and marketers here. So I'll just touch base, just briefly introduce Leferi company because this actually justifies what I just said. I mean, they started 2013. Very interestingly, that was 10 years ago, right? And 16 years ago, Michelle Phan posted one first video on her YouTube. And YouTube Korean version launched around 2011-12. So, that was after, this whole YouTuber thing was hyping. It was a hype. Now it's the norm, but that was a hype before. And they started this business then. YouTube just began to reach out to a lot of agencies to start convincing brands, educating them how to work with influencers on YouTube, how to work with video advertising. So, the trend of video was inevitable, right? Now Generation Z, they're just mobile native. They watch video without reading. So that was a very natural move. And we saw that, I saw it. So I joined the team very, very early on. And we started doing this. So video and the marketing and the word of mouth is something that everyone, it's almost like a cliche now, word of mouth. What is word of mouth, right? The power of word of mouth, we learned it from Marketing 101, how important it is. And the social media helped this word of mouth become large media. So what we did, we started converting many of the traditional bloggers and training them to create video and start putting them on YouTube and engaging brands to enhance the impact of this video content reaching more audience, a targeted audience. So we Leferi started 2013 doing that, and so far, past 10 years, we trained about 1,500 plus influencers on YouTube. We're currently managing about 400, and which turns out to be about 24 million accumulated followers on YouTube only. But when you see there are many, many platforms coming out, and the landscape is diversifying, and there are a lot more for us as a marketer to study and learn to anticipate what will actually work for our brands. And that's how Leferi started and how it reached the currently number one status within the beauty and lifestyle category.
And I know it's incredibly important for us to understand what's trending from there and may come here. But what's crazy, at least from what you told me, is that if it's going to work in the beauty industry, it's probably going to work a lot of places because of how competitive the beauty industry is in Korea.
Absolutely, absolutely. I am actually scared to see all these brands keep on born out of this country. Is probably because of developing OEM and ODM structures. So I'll just start with this. I mean, for today, I'll be sharing some of the trending topics inside the South Korean market, and move right back into our main topic, which is building long-term partnerships with influencers. So Korea, in a very nutshell, this is the numbers that we see. Korean beauty total market size is about 25 billion combined export and import. And there are roughly 20,000 beauty brands registered to FDA in Korea. which is incredible number that even we see roughly about 3,000 brands based on our own statistics. Based on our, we have our internal data lab who collects this data, and roughly about 3,000 brands are marketing online using YouTube. Out of 20,000 is just starting, and we're hearing the numbers being updated up to 30,000. That's crazy competition. And last year, Olive Young is the leading beauty lifestyle retailer. They mainly handle beauty products, and they've done $2 billion in sales, and that is quite a representative number that probably portrays how what's happening in South Korea will be portrayed through this retailer and very important partner. From the next slide, we'll see. So this is very interesting. Left is Sephora Korea, very traditional, very conservative retailer. And right side is Olive Young. Then you immediately recognize the differences between these two. I'm not here to compare which one is doing better, but it's apparent that Olive Young is doing dominantly better in Korea. But beyond that, you see that all these faces here on the right side, they're not all celebrities. Half of them are celebrities and half of them are influencers. Very shocking to see this because you never seen putting influencer faces on this mass. This is top ranking sales. When you see that, this is captured video of the site, and impact of the importance of these influencer personalities is now becoming mass. So, this is just a simple portrayal of, what's happening in South Korea, retail scene, but is even stronger in the social media scene. From the next slide, I wanted to share two things. First, home shopping. I mean, this is nothing new because if anybody studied anything happening in China, that you guys already know, a person like Li Jiaqi is the king of lipstick. He sells over $1 billion of sales by himself over a year. That's actually happening in South Korea too. And what you see on the left side, his name is Leo J. He's generating roughly about average $300,000, $400,000 of sales per broadcasting, and he's bringing the traffic of about 400,000 simultaneous viewers to the site, and he's about a million follower on YouTube, and 500,000 less than 200,000 followers on other channels. So when you see the impact that this guy personally has, and who wouldn't want to build a long-term relationship, but he started very interestingly when the day that I joined Leferi company, which was 2017, he joined the training program. So we're basically entered the same company at the same time. So now he became like a biggest person. Currently hottest beauty YouTuber influencer in Korea. Now he's mass. So it took him like 6-7 years to reach that point, right? So the second part on the bottom is another interesting point because it's a case from Japan. Japan is known as most conservative market, probably entire Asia. And Rakuten, this is a case from Rakuten. Rakuten launched a influencer personal select store service to influencers on Instagram and other social media platforms. So what it does is, so creator or influencer can create their own shop inside of Rakuten called Room, and they select the item that they want to sell. They feature it on their channel. Very interestingly, the photos that posted for the shoppers are actually, some of the key photos are taken by the influencers, and some of the descriptions are written by the influencer too. So it's very, very personalized. They tried to make it as personalized as possible. And this happening in a Japanese e-commerce, that's a shocking moment for me, because I understand how conservative they are. And that is actually started happening in Korea too. And I'm very, very sure these cases are going to move on to the Southeast Asia region as well. So I wanted to just quickly share this. I mean,
and the thing is that a lot of
yes.
these influencers didn't like start off like 1 million followers, right? Some of them, like you said, the gentleman earlier in the video, he started up pretty new, pretty small, and he grew together with the brands that they work with.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's very few. I mean, we trained about 1,500 people, and amongst them, about 5%, 10% became large enough creators to be brand endorsers. The rest of the people, they still are and micro, nano, or mid-sized creators. But before, mega-sized creators are important, but now, because of how intimate relationship that smaller creators has with their audience, it's becoming different. So all the strategies are changing, how we deal with this different sizes of creators are changing. So for that, through their long-term relationship, you can realize it. Some of the creators that you supported early on can become large, but they can stay loyal as smaller too. So, this is a type of relationship that you can actually learn based on time. You can't. These are people. These are not company, right? So if it's a company, I want this campaign and that campaign, that you work. But this is very, very personalized relationship. So, there's something that I can share from the next session, how it can impact the business. Yeah, so about so first part, I want to share how Leferi began putting so much emphasis on long-term relationship. It's because most of the times we get a call. So Leo J is the hottest guy in the beauty scene in Korea at the moment, and we get a call. I got a lot of money. I want to work with him. I want to give him like, let's say $100,000 for one video. Do it for me. And we say, no, I'm sorry. Because as an agency, we want to take everything. But we want to, I mean, Leo J, he himself wants to keep the genuinity, a genuine relationship with the audience. He wants to stay as genuine and as personal as possible with most of his audience and his followers. And if he likes this product and that product, and because of money, he can do it. And mostly there's limited number of branded campaign that he can run too, because we don't suggest him to do so because he's going to lose his neutrality as an influencer person. So money is not everything. That's one thing. The second is we actually tried. We used to be a small company, so this brand is giving us a lot of money, so we got to do it. So we actually pushed it to somebody, right? The big creator at the time was another person, and she was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And the backlash, the followers know. So she was like, "Oh, you have a dry skin. Why are you using this?" This is very, very natural. Everybody knows this is a living organism in a way. They're constantly trying to understand each other. They're constantly engaged. That's why this power of word of mouth is working. That's why Leo J he's able to sell $500,000 of sales in one broadcasting. It's not a large number in China, but there's very, very large number in Korea. If you consider the size of the market, it's only below 50 million population. So what we learned through this process, so when creator has high brand affinity, if the creator likes the product and likes the brand from the start, when campaign starts, it has much, much higher organic engagements, higher views, higher engagement, higher impact on sales. So we start realizing we have to start understand creators' activities, their life data to identify which brand that they like. However, at the same time, he can't like something that doesn't exist, right? When the new brands coming in, new products coming in, he needs to know too, right? Or she needs to know. So we started introducing this concept of creator relations. So we started not barging into, what usually I used to be a marketer too. What I used to do, pack up a lot of products, send it to so many magazine editors, just hoping that they're going to open it up and they're going to like our product. We insert all the brochures and we send it to them. We send like thousands of them. And what we saw from our creators, they receive this type of box, 20 boxes a day. It's piling up. Their moms and their dads and their brothers, sisters, they're like opening up and like throwing. It piles up in the room. And it's not properly introduced. And we know how difficult it is to create one product, one brand. It should be introduced properly. So when we launched this creator relation, we chose to do it properly, to introduce the brand properly to creators, so creators can understand the true value of this product, and even building relations with the brand who created the product, the people who did it, so that they can actually engage. So based on this creator relations, we increase the brand affinity, then leads to some of the key results that I just put here. Next slide, I share. So this is the space that we literally launched a in membership only store where you can't buy. Only the creators can come and actually test the item in a proper setting. And we have a manager who understands the brand, understands the product, and explain to them in person. So they do this in a best conditions that we can possibly provide, and we move this to online. But before that, I want to share this. This is very interesting picture. Okay, you probably see this event. This is a brand and creator events offline. We brought this. The reason we do that is because influencers and creators are actually human beings. They like to engage in person. They want to hear. They don't want to listen to all the marketing slogans and all these bullet points and presentations. They want to learn. They want to engage the brand marketers in person. And we learned that in the settings that is as personal as possible, that actually builds relationship like this. This doesn't happen just for randomly too. We do open up open events, but we actually suggest the number of creators who has high affinity of brand based on our data collection that we suggest to the brands, and they actually invite them. They do RSVP, they prepare, they do like flower classes, espresso classes, they do all this. And they talk about products, they talk about their life. So we try to remove this barrier of distance. Distance between the brand marketers and creators so that they can engage longer term. And this was proven very effective. So we're doing this pretty much like 3-4 times a month. This is many of the places our company office hall, and it's booked up for the most of the time for events like this. And from the next slide that I wanted to share, so we've gone digital too, because offline is not enough to reach more people. So we created an online platform. It's a private platform. It's only available in Korean region, but for brands to be able to properly introduce in digital format. And creators are actually very engaged in this app. They're staying average of 15 to 20 minutes in the app. There's a lot of events ongoing. You know, we encourage creators to engage just beyond just in giving us feedbacks, but also feedbacks on the brand, their pickup rates, the conversion rates on social media. We track that data so that we can better serve and better build relationship between brands and creators. So based on this app, we're collecting the, on top of this data that we also crawl data from YouTube, we actually look at every beauty related video in YouTube in Korea region, and we create a database of these products and brands covered by each creator, whether that's organic or whether that's paid. So based on this, we measure the level of affinity, level of exposure from this creator relations, whether it's transferred into actual media value. And often, many brands who had successfully built a relationship with creators, they receive a lot of organic content posted on their social media. So this service that we provide to brands in Korea. Yeah. So this case, can you stop just quickly? Yeah. So this is a case before I start the video. This is what just mentioned when we began at the beginning, how intensive brand considers the building relationship. Etude House is under the group called Emerald Pacific, their largest cosmetic company in South Korea, and they used to be top 5 in the world for dealing with a lot of brands. And Etude House, they're known for this, and they had huge success. So we can watch this video, and then I'll explain how they're dealing with influencer relations.
뷰티 크리에이터가 되고 싶다면 고민 말고 지원하세요.
뷰티즌 7기 크리에이터로 성장할 수 있는 가장 좋은 기회라고 생각합니다.
처음 뷰티 크리에이터를 도전을 했을 때 에뛰드 뷰티즌이 정말 큰 도움이 되었습니다.
뷰티 크리에이터를 꿈꾸는 바로 지금 뷰티즌 7기 많이 지원해주세요. 저랑 함께 콘텐츠 찍어요.
So this is one of the training program that we ran past 8 years, including this year. This year was 8th, and so it has been 8 years. Etude House has been sponsoring, helping young creators to be properly trained and be able to commercially work with brands like Etude House. The impact, this program not only provides a training program, but opportunity to kickstart the growth by working with top creators during the era, and also mentoring, advertising opportunity, branded content opportunity. It was literally a super kickstart for any creator wannabe. And for one of the seasons, probably this year's, we get our application. We do audition too. So from the application, we receive usually for 30 people participants, we receive roughly about 300 applications, 300, 400 applications each time. So it's a highly competitive program, and has born many large creators out of this program. And so far, past 7 seasons, it roughly trained about 200 creators, and it generated organically, and through the mission, we provide a mission using Etude House products to create video content, roughly 3,300 videos. and it generated 36 million views on YouTube. And this count relatively, they ranked at #1 in YouTube to cover as a brand impression for past 5 years. So this is huge impression that you can only sponsor the young creator. Even then, you will receive continuously the organic content out of these creators. And one of the creators from the previous promotional video, her name is Arang, and she actually mentioned that this program has helped her to become who she is now, and she's still building a really tight relationship with this brand. But not only that, as a marketer, all the marketers here, I don't encourage people to move from one company to another, but as a marketer, you become, you're building relationship with this creator as a person too. So as you move on to the career to one brand to another, you still start building your relationship and be able to genuinely and smoothly introduce your new brand and new product too. So as a career, I think it's very important too. Yeah, so this is summary of my session. I will listen to Chris's session, but in some, influencer marketing is not an option. It's not a choice. It's a must now. And if you know and engage the creators or influencers who has high affinity to your brand, you have a better chance of success in your campaign. And also, if you build genuine and long-term relationship, that's how you build a long-lasting and growing brand, I believe.
Yeah, and the truth is, it is not exactly a walk in the park. What we hear from you is a lot of intentionality, a lot of effort, but at the same time, the fruits of that effort is real, is impact, even if it's 6 months and above. So just a quick question to the folks online. What are some of the challenges? I mean, you hear the impact, importance of long-term engagement with influencers. What are some of the challenges you face in engaging influencers in the long term? Yeah, let's see. Let's do a quick one on this. All right. Okay, of course, I should have put all of the above. That's an easy one. But you can see that the constant change in content strategies that might not fit previous influencers. And then there's a brand affinity, not too sure. And I think there's a lot of questions up there, like how do you measure ROI? How do I find the right KOLs? And I thought before we jump into that, some of you might, just before you think this is a South Korea thing, there are more and more brands because of social media, because of how consumers are engaged on social media. Brands are just constantly working with influencers, whether on long-term, whether it's ad hoc campaigns or what have you. But influencer marketing is definitely very, very critical, a hygiene buy, if we put it that way. Just look at the right-hand side, you see that these list of brands in Singapore actually engage with more than 100 influencers, worked with more than 100 influencers in the past 180 days. And there's just a handful of them in Singapore. And you can imagine that this is constantly, and at the same time, what we are also seeing is that marketers are spending, the first question we asked earlier on, how much budget you're spending. More and more marketers, more and more brands are spending 30% and up of their marketing budget into engaging influencers, into engaging building communities. And this is driven in particular because consumers are changing now. It used to be a situation on the left-hand side, you search for information, you go, so you're all involved with the search ranking, SEO, SEM. And it went to a season where it's about finding people. That's why social graph was so important. What is the background? Who are these people? What are personalities? The size of followers, the 1 million follower, the $1 million question, right? 1 million followers, is it meaning $1 million? Then now it's all about finding content. Social media is no longer just about the big followers, but it's about content, the authenticity, what creators are actually generating, what the creators are generating for their audience. Which is why right now, well, lots of questions coming in. I'm getting a bit flooded right now, but let me just move. The big question here is, I think many of the questions here is, how might we find the right influencers to engage your audience consistently? You start small, then like how Dylan was sharing, what are data points that we look into to actually start measuring? Because as we look at all the many campaigns that we have been running here at Mediacorp in Singapore, across 18 sectors, 100 campaigns, we constantly notice that people are stuck in this ad hoc strategy to find the right influencers. We're still in a situation where people are like, because my boss saw this trending TikTok person, therefore I should engage the person, but I have no idea why, but just to make my life easier, I just engage the person. There's a lot more things that we could do to justify. And the thing is that post-campaign results are in all different places. You work with 10 agencies, you have 10 different ways of measuring it. This inconsistency, if there's inconsistency, is even harder to measure. And hence why a lot of us end up with a very short-term view with relationship influences. We forget because of challenges, we start to forget the benefits of the long-term engagement. Which is why one of the key things, if we talk about long-term engagement, we strongly believe in setting your data strategy in place. For us, we look at not just the influences, the brand affinities, we also look at what's the audience interest. Are they really aligned with your brand, aligned with what you want to do with the creators? The last thing you want to do is because you see someone posing with yoga, then you think it's health related and you could push a health product there. It's not necessarily true. At the same time, the other number that we've been really focused on of late is audience quality score. Are they real human beings at the back end where you could actually engage them? Because among the many influencers, big and small, there will be some, not because that they are intentionally trying to fraud you, but it's just because of how they maintain their community. Are they engaging with the community? Audience quality score becomes very important. And just to give you an idea of what we mean by audience quality score, essentially what we're looking at, what's the reachability of the followers of this KOL. So let's say I have 1,000 followers. How many % of them are real human beings and not bots? So there are a lot of data points, like are they empty accounts? What's the like comment ratio? What's the follow graph chart? All this gives us this number called audience quality score. And when we work with this brand to analyze the past campaign of theirs, they share with us all the different KOLs they worked with. We observed, and it's across all the brands we worked with, when we swap the KOLs with poor audience quality score, which reflects a lower number of real audience, you start to see the cost per reach and cost per engagement improve. Talking about ROI, performance influencer marketing, these are real legit numbers that we need to be aware of. Question is, how are we measuring it, right? And more holistically, you know, I could just do a pop quiz, but we don't have enough time. Most of us will be like, oh, high engagement rate, we got it, we got the right KOL because high engagement rate, lots of likes, therefore it works. But there's so much more to a KOL performance, a campaign performance, than just an engagement rate. How does the engagement rate perform against this past? What's the reach rate? Is it reaching the percentage of audience, of the percentage of followers of these KOLs? Because you may have 1 million followers, but if you reach only 6%, it probably means that the content didn't resonate with the audience. Then, of course, you have cost per reach and cost per engagement. And if anybody, not me, can think 5-dimensionally, you start to plot these 5 data points across all campaigns that you've run. And for us at SocialHub, across all campaigns that we've ran in SocialHub, you start to see what we call a social performance score, which means to say 1 and 2 being great, 3 and 4 being poor. Just give an idea. This is a campaign that we ran recently. 10% average engagement rate, 20% average reach rate. Everybody's go, clap your hands, you did really well. But when we start to put this through the analysis, we start to see that actually only 4 of them out of the 15 of them actually perform on par with the peers and more. Most of them, 74% of them, actually perform below average or poor performance. Meaning to say, when I start to look holistically, benchmark it against other KOL campaigns that we ran, we start to see whether this KOL is suitable and have the brand affinity that Dylan was mentioning about earlier on. And what is important at the end of the day is you start to see who's suitable to work with your brand and who's not suitable to work with your brand. Those people who didn't do well doesn't mean that they are bad KOLs. It just means that they don't have the brand affinity, their audience don't have brand affinity for you to drive your message across. And this is absolutely important because this is where we start to benchmark the performance of a campaign, start to work more with those who can do well for your brand, optimize and deliver long-term results. And this is a chart that we've been doing a campaign. If you look at the dates carefully, it's from October to October. So 1 year, no 8 years here, no 7 years like what Dylan mentioned earlier on. We've been running SocialHub for just 1 year right now. So this has been ongoing, and we start to see the performance in terms of cost per reach and cost per engagement improve with time. There are spikes because you start to test, you start to learn. It's just like A/B testing for digital marketing. It's how you apply those, measuring holistically those numbers to give you the results. And for us, because we do so many of them, we start to know who are the KOLs who are suitable for the different sectors. For example, in this case, retail sectors. Who are the ones who are performing best based on our measurements in this space? Who are the ones who do well in the health sector? Who are those who do well for personal care? And the various other sectors that we work with. If I'm to sum up everything, because I know lots of questions to answer, our team is like WhatsApping us on the side. Some key takeaways. Influencer marketing is not a choice. It's a hygiene bar. If you're not in it, I strongly encourage you to talk to someone, your agency, or talk to us at Mediacorp, importantly, of how we can actually work out your influencer marketing strategy for you. It's a must already. Know and engage those and have an appreciation, affinity to your brand, and build genuine and long-term relationships. We can't run away from it. A lot of the questions, a lot of us are hoping that there's this magic pill that today I engage someone and this person will love my brand so much and work for me for the next 10 years. It doesn't happen that way. But what's important though, once you have the right data strategy, you measure the performance holistically, you're able to do that because you start to know who you should work with and not be clueless and try and error, thinking that engagement rate is the only thing to look into. So with that, time for questions and answers. We're excited to look at the many questions that we have here. Dylan, you're going to take the first few ones. And yeah, we'll work from there. Would you like to answer the question? It's about how do you avoid having the same influencer advocate for conflicting beauty brands since it's such a saturated category?
Very good question. But it may be simpler to answer because what Chris just explained, when you look at the data, you actually see what type of brands that this influencer has mentioned or featured on their content, and what was the level of affinity. Was that net neutral, or was it positive, or that was negative? So when you see that and number of brands who is covered, whether you can, by looking at the data, but you have to cross-check with your own eyes. You have to assess the content, whether this person that you actually want to engage, and you don't want to go to the creators who passionately are advocating, your direct competitor products. Even though it's a saturated, every skincare, even skincare is the most competitive market in the beauty industry, and within that, every product has its own selling points, right? The key points, key functionalities. So you can still avoid it, but there are thousands of influencers out there. If you want to choose to work with mega creators, it's very limited. But when you look at large group of influencers, that's a lot easier. So, study the analytics data and then look at their content. Then you could choose from the options. Do not limit your options too much. It will, because these are not magic wand, right? So you have to continuously work with several creators to understand which type of creators actually works with you too. So that, SocialHub can help building your data.
Cool. This other question came in. How do we retain KOL's brand loyalty since they are pretty monetary driven, even for micro KOLs? Sometimes the brand helps micro KOLs profile and they end up being monetary driven and end up working with competitors. Actually, this is a really good question. Talking about what you mentioned earlier on, I vividly remember one of my teammates was showing us this TikToker. This moment, she was like, I've got acne problem. She goes through the routine, the usual demo and everything. Then a month later, suddenly she's got sensitive. It's like her skin problem changes month on month, depending on what's the product she's trying to push. And it's true. It is true that there are people who are monetary driven. Let's be honest. But then it takes the diligence to then see, are we engaging them enough such that they can have a sustainable relationship with you as a brand? Number two is, are the data reflecting that as well, that they are suitable for you? Because if they are really suitable for you, for big or mid-sized KOLs or even everyday influencers, that relationship will grow. And the stats earlier on, the engagement rates, the conversion will come in as you build a relationship, because the audience will start to know will start to call out the fakes, and will start to have that to deliver the results for you. Make sense, Dylan? Anything?
Absolutely. This is a very interesting question. But one thing that I wanted to kind of get back and share with all the marketers and brand agency, brand professionals here. You're using about 20-30% of your budget. The rest of the money go elsewhere, and you're not as stringent as what you say about influence. I mean, there's often case where brands become more strict or stringent about ROI. ROI is important. Understand the data. Return on investment is very critical for every brand marketers. But what you get out of the influencer marketing is often beyond what display advertising brings you. So, that's something that I want to advise brands to be more flexible, because this is building a relationship. It's like a building professional network as well. Everyone's here, we build that relationship. I might not be able to give you sales today, but maybe later when I move on to another company, right? So micro influencers, as we are, as a brand manager, I'm a monetary driven, right? I spend money, I make money for them too. But they're the media. So when they do that, when they change from one competitor to another, they're going to lose their audience. And that is not a great way to grow as an influencer. So we don't advise we strongly advise them not to do that. So there was a case today. I have one creator who's covering shampoo, and we received a blank check deal from the other competitor shampoo company, and we had to turn it down because of the longevity of their creator life cycle. So if you chose a creator or influencer, even that's a micro, who covered competing products from elsewhere, it's likely that he's going to do or she's going to do it for you too in this campaign. So I suggest you to look at the data and try to filter out as many creators like that. But even if it happens, your return is not too bad, because once the video is up, you already have the impression. So you choose not to go long-term with that person, but you only pay for the campaign, right? So building relationship is not exactly costly. It's not that costly. It's about your time to put in and being more genuine with the person. So it's not exactly too costly to pursue long-term relationships. So if you think about that, then it will probably justify your trials. But as you go on, then you will find your relationship. You're going to find those people who are genuine to you, and you receive super ROIs that you can't see in the display advertising.
Building on that, the whole question about what if an influencer is in a backlight, they are being cancelled, right? I think again, it goes back to principles as a brand. What does a brand stand for? And what's your relationship with influencer? It's no longer a hard and fast rule that you just keep quiet and hope the dark clouds pass away. Nor is it like by just taking the influencer relationship out of the door and therefore you're safe. It doesn't work that way. We've seen cases where brands cancel the influencers, they get a backlash. We also seen the other side. So it really depends on what's your relationship. Importantly, who you are as a brand. We're just going to take one last question. Building a long-term relationship, we're targeting the same group of followers. How to expand our reach and engagement rate if we consistently deal with the same KOL? By the way, one of the, maybe just to be clear, long-term relationship doesn't mean you only work with one KOL. It means that you work with a community of KOLs. What the optimization does is it helps you to start to, how should I put it? It helps you to start seeing who are the ones who work, who are the ones who are like those who work, and then start to grow a community from there. It's a test and learn process. You start with some basis because we have data of the basis, and then you build from there. Because just like your product will evolve, your target audience for your product might probably evolve as well. These will change too. Your demographics will change, the gender may change. Things will change and evolve with time. It just doesn't mean that you stick one KOL for the rest of our life. Yeah. It's 11 o'clock. Any last word, Dylan, before we close the shop here?
Yes, but it was. Thank you, Chris and Mediacorp for this opportunity to share my experience. And I hope that I can be at your service if you ever come to South Korea market. But as well, if you're looking for anybody there, reach out to me through my email, dylan.park@leferi.com. But meanwhile, for all of the marketers and brands, and please do look at the data. That's very important, and start working more. Be open. Don't be stringent about yourself. Encourage yourself. I really do encourage you. Every marketer to be more flexible to yourself, but look at the data and make actions daily basis. Then you're going to reach the point that you will actually want to reach to. So it was nice meeting you, everybody. Hope to see you again.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. The questions that are unanswered, we will get back to you. We will upload the answers. You will find the webinars. We'll send you the recording as well as the podcast. We're everywhere where you've listened to your favorite marketing audio podcast. Thank you so much, everybody.